Thanks for the lights. I was like, wow. I can see. I should be wearing my glasses, but bad at that. Is it doing that? Okay, is it better? Okay, cool, thank you. Minna Oshki Baboom, happy 2026, everyone. My name is Nicole Wallace, and as ever, I'm honored and truly humbled to have somehow become the executive director of a place I love so deeply, admire, and have called my poetry home for going on to 20 years, which will be next year. I will haunt this place. I'm sure I'll see some of you here. If you've never been to the Poetry Project before, welcome. And if you've been here before, it's nice to see you again today, dear friends. We're so thrilled that you've all chosen to be here with us as we celebrate the Poetry Project's 52nd annual New Year's Day marathon reading, a tradition started in 1974 by much-loved poet, friend, and Poetry Project co-founder Anne Waldman. The marathon, much like Anne herself, is a true force of nature, a conjuring, an exorcism, a chaotic blessing that becomes its own prismatic being, a steady hum of energy, heart, presence, listening, and connection. In addition to being our largest fundraiser of the year, the marathons become a much beloved and necessary annual converging of poetry, movement, music, and performance. The 140 plus performers and readers who have generously donated their time for today's program, an incredible 10 hours of performance and community and gathering, will undoubtedly dazzle and move us into our very own New Year's Day time slip. As it's known to do, the spirit of the marathon will build throughout the day into a steady yet frenetic energy that has the capacity to transport and transform not only the energy of the room and in the room, but possibly everybody who is within it. Putting on this event is not for the faint of heart. The marathon takes an entire community of those who are firmly rooted in heart and in devotion to the project to pull this day off with grace and with electricity. This includes, foremost, the 100 plus volunteers who will join us over the course of the day today. I want to extend our deepest thanks to all of the volunteers who are incredible. Braving the wild winds at the admission table currently, but truly our volunteers are what make this day possible. I also want to thank our amazing tech staff, Noah, James, Ayaz, and Jim. Our videographers, Serene and Gary, and the dangerously persistent team who's coordinating our live stream today, our lighting technicians, Nico and Ben from Dance Space Project. Thank you for giving me light to read. And our cart captioners who are here today with us, and our kitchen and bar staff from Tapu's Catering, who are awesome, and they end up coming to help at this event every year, so it's nice to see them again today. I want to extend a special thanks to Dave Morris and John Kane for their coordination of the ever-incredible book table setup in the Parish Hall, to Mel Elberg, best friend to the Poetry Project, for all of their help today and every day, and to Tracy McTagg, who will be making cocktails later in the Parish Hall. And of course, I want to thank my dear colleagues, Miran, Anna, Will, Kay, Roberto, Ethan, and Heather, the truest of hearts, the truest of hearts and totally the realest freaks I know, who worked tirelessly for months to curate, organize, and coordinate all of the complex logistics and programming for today. It's an incredible honor to do this work together with you all, not only as colleagues, but more importantly as friends, comrades, and fellow poets. You all make this work and this place a dream to be a part of. There's someone who's missing here today that I'd like to dedicate this year's marathon to. Longtime AV manager at the project and dear friend, Maddie D'Angelo. Maddie spent many marathons in this room with us, and he'll forever be a part of the magic that takes place here. We miss you. And now I'm so honored and so pleased to be joined by another dear friend of ours, the Poetry Project's much beloved former program director, Laura Henriksen, who will host our first hour.
Hi all, welcome, Happy New Year, and welcome to the first hour of the 52nd annual New Year's Day Marathon. I feel very lucky to get to be with you for this first hour of this very best day of the year. It is like a truly relentlessly stacked hour of performances, so I don't want to take too much time at the top, but I would love to invite you to join me in another big round of applause to the whole staff of the Poetry Project. They have worked so hard bringing this day together for us. They're working so hard now, running the sound, running around, so I feel just endlessly grateful for everything they do to make this community possible, and certainly rounds of applause are very meaningful, expressions of sincere gratitude are very meaningful, and also if you are in a position to make a donation, that's a very meaningful way to support the Poetry Project as well. So as it is a fundraiser. So, and there's lots of ways to, there's books, there's food, and then also, of course, if it's possible to donate, I hope that you will. This place gives us so much, so I know that we give what we can. But thank you again for being here. Thank you for all the ways that you support this place, and let's get into it. All right. Our first performers are Ernie Brooks, Gary Lucas, Jeannine Otis, Bill Ruyle, and Peter Zummo. Peter, Ernie, and Jeannine and company love this marathon. Their individual musical history represents an eclectic mix of musical experiences from classical music and jazz to punk rock. Arthur Russell to the Modern Lovers to Kool and the Gang and Pete Seeger. Please join me in welcoming them.
Gary, you got sound? Just want to say it's an honor to be opening this incredible event, something I've been to many times. And just want to say, after going through maybe the worst year in this country's recent history, I was thinking, well, what to do? One could rant, one could attempt to satirize, but it's really beyond satire. So I decided to go in another direction and do a song as often by old friend and colleague Arthur Russell. And it's, well, he didn't really write political songs, but, so this isn't political, but it's about maybe the only thing we could do now. And it's called Let's Go Swimming, and we'll dedicate it to Staten Island group called the Swimmers of Anarchy. I don't know, they swim, right, in all weather, all year. So if people swim in cold enough water, maybe it'll wake them up.
Country I am swimming jaw up in the deep blue sky. Let's go. Part of that, the country I swim into, 'cause everywhere you go is everywhere I go, banging on your door up in the deep blue sky. Let's go swimming. All set, ticket, let's go swimming. All set, ticket, let's go. Let's go. All set, ticket, let's go. Let's go. Swimming.
Thank you all so much. That was perfect. That was a perfect way to start the day. As the stage is reset, I'll introduce our next reader, Courtney Bush. Woo! Courtney Bush is a poet, filmmaker, and childcare worker from Mississippi whose most recent book is The Lamb with the Talking Scroll. Courtney Bush.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everyone. This is such a crazy honor to be a part of. This tradition is the best thing that happens all year. Happy New Year, Laura, my friend. I'm so excited that you're my host. I decided that was such a beautiful, beautiful song. I feel like I'm kind of the same mind. There are so many, when trying to choose, there are so many things so many directions you could go in, and I just wanted to choose something that had really happy vibes. Because there is happiness, and it's something I've been reading that's made me happy. It's about happiness, so Happy New Year. For Thanksgiving that year, my mom came to town, so she, Jake, Will, and I made spaghetti and meatballs and cherry crumble. Our friend Jessa came over with homemade arancini. We ate weed gummies and then smoked so much actual weed that we could barely move from our seats on Will's couch. Somehow, by some perfect act of God, we realized we wanted to watch Shrek. My mom said she had never seen Shrek. I screamed like a woman in a horror movie. How was that possible? We put it on. Watching Shrek on this night was one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. I remember staring at the beautiful faces of my friends as they watched, wide-eyed and mouths open in unself-conscious joy, the gingerbread man and Lord Farquaad do the Muffin Man scene we had seen so many times as children. I realized that the donkey from Shrek has the most loving and pure personality. I sat on the floor in awe of the donkey from Shrek and his attitude about life. Shrek says, "Everyone's afraid of me when they meet me." Donkey says, "Shrek, I wasn't afraid of you." Shrek says, "I know, Donkey, I know." I had tears in my eyes. I had felt what Shrek was feeling. I put my hand on Jake's leg and said, "I want to watch Shrek with you in the nursing home when we're old." "I can't wait to do that with you," he said, not looking at me but staring at the screen. I had a disposable camera in my purse. I put the flash on and looked through the viewfinder at the TV. I waited for a close-up of Shrek. Shrek emerged from between some vines in the woods. I took a flash photo of the TV screen and yelped, "Everyone has to try this. It feels like you are really taking a picture of Shrek." We passed the camera around between us, literally screaming in ecstasy every time someone would take another flash photo of Shrek. The person who took the photo would scream, "It's real." I'm walking up to Shrek and taking a flash photo of him. I have never been so happy. When I got the film developed, of course, all you can see is the flash reflecting off of the TV screen. Of the 6 photos we took of Shrek, and only 2 of them can you vaguely see Shrek's face, and only if you're looking for it. I gave the photos to my friend Will for his birthday. Happy New Year, thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. That was really ecstatic. I feel it's 2 performers and I'm already much more prepared for 2026. I also have my little tiger with me who's been really having a fun time and running around. Hi. All right, our next reader is Judah Rubin. Judah Rubin is happy to see you all. Judah Rubin.
All of you except you. Happy New Year. It is very good to be with all of you. This poem is called Tekken, One Button Per Limb. Yikes. Hear me out. Take the self out, or put it back in, taken down a peg by the 15th take of the taken and requisite metabolizing poem. Take a number, take a seat, take it on the chin, take it to historiographical flesh, taken through a cognitive rollback or turn aside as when taken thousands of miles from the site of adjudication, and the flesh sits on the body, but it takes nothing out of me, though, well, it takes a village, it takes a while. I take it back, this being an undertaking of funereal weight. Uh-oh, maybe you should have taken the battery of tests offered by yearly subscription to catch thousands of potentially deadly diseases. That is, the ones that are taking, no, catching, the ones that can take you down, or take 5, just a breather before the big takeover, or take the pre-existence of the body, the one take it for granted, the condition of the event that undergirds the historiographical flesh. Something like, so sorry, I'll need to take this call, or take the test for famine, arm measurements, because there were, and mostly remain, no adequate ways to take measures in other vitals that would determine its taking place. Take 2 steps across the yellow line on taken land and have your life taken, passively so, lest we talk about who is taking what. Mistress and man were engaged in the operation of making a lamb take, which is performed whenever a ewe has lost her offspring, one of the twins of another ewe being given her as substitute. Take away the makeshift shelters, take the land out from underneath them, wash it away, or exhaust the body, exhaust the very marrow as it is taken up, as chronicle in which the years skip along. It takes so long, it takes a long, hard look, and the Lord takes a page out of the past, or he is taken to drink that imaginary relationship to the no longer perceived, and you take just a moment to arrive at the conclusion that what has taken place left its residue on the present, what is taken to court, or takes, that is, the idea, is a seat at the table, or maybe just to take away where, but being slain, his army took the way of infamy before them. And were taken in by the pleasure of it taking just 5 minutes to make the call, of taking it apart and putting it back together, to take it all away and take up the measure of man? Retake your school photo, your eyes were closed, take one of me, take him out, or else I'd love to take you back when the innocence of taking the bull by the proverbial horns, not that again. Taking the dog, taking the wheel, taking a quick trip, but when you know, you know. Take down the order, or a tanker, a life, or an oath of office. And though the capture was graft, and though the grafting never quite took, and though I took it all in, I moved away from it, I take, and I take, and I take, and am taken on the sudden with a grievous swimming in my head for which I'll take something, though even after taking a break, what has been taken remains hanging in the air. Take it, I said, and put it away. Take this cup from me, take this road, not likely. Take off the days, take on the hours, take this as a clever little poem. A nice hot take. Make it topical. Make it so that we can take it for granted that theft comes from the grasping, cheating touch, i.e., taking him for all he's worth. And then, nice and easy, take it back. That is, not what is taken for its related term, nim, but having numbed whatever came before this. I'm sure it was better, because it's hard to take back, which is really all it took to let it go on. Thank you and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Judah. All right, next up, sorry, is it okay? We have Foamola. Foamola has stopped taking drugs and now just experiments with different types of toothpaste. Foamola.
We are Foamola, the band who bought all our instruments at Costco. Thank you. I don't know how many of your grandmothers loved pistachio nuts. Hopefully all of them. Otherwise, our first song will be lost on you. Let me say parenthetically that all pistachio shells were dyed red until sometime in June 1978. No one knows why they were dyed or why the dyeing suddenly stopped. Incidentally, this song is entitled, My Grandmother Was Fascinated by, to the Point of Being Addicted to, Pistachio Nuts. Am I going to stand? I don't need a chair.
Excuse me? How does this thing,
My grandmother loved pistachio nuts in bright red shells. She had an endless supply. I loved the Turkish smell.
Her fingers would get red. It looked like she had bled. Shelling pistachios,
Shelling pistachio, shelling pistachio nuts. Those nuts were really salty. The recipe was faulty. Now pistachio nuts are white. They changed color overnight. My grandmother loved pistachio nuts in bright red shells. She had an endless supply. I love the Turkish smell. Often men who are mustachioed love to eat pistachio. Do you recall 1 year ago there was a highly popular assassin with the unlikely name of Luigi Mangione? During the height of his celebrity, we wrote this song entitled The Solemn Ballad of Luigi Mangione.
You are not alone. I look at my iPhone and see Luigi Mangione. There's a great crime, happens all the time. People are reticent. They say I need medicine. They need to have surgery. They're not committing perjury. But United Health said no, you must die, you know. You must die, you know. Luigi Mangione, he didn't cry and moan. He sat down and presto, he had a manifesto. He went to his 3D printer one day in early winter. You are not alone. I look at
My iPhone and see Luigi Mangione. Luigi Mangione. Luigi Mangione. That was our first political song in 35 years. Probably everyone has asked themselves, why do police have dogs and not iguanas? But except for a bonus track on an AC/DC album, no one has ever written a song about it except us. You should probably look that up. Our last song is entitled, Why Do Police Have Dogs and Not Iguanas? Why do police have dogs but not iguanas? Why not starfish?
Why not penguins or llamas?
Why not gorillas? Why not pet rats?
Why do police have dogs, not cats?
Why do police have dogs,
Dogs, but not iguanas.
Police
Have horses, but no sheep.
or a jaguar that could leap?
It would make criminals shake.
To meet a cop holding a snake.
Why do police have dogs but not iguanas? But not iguanas. But not iguanas.
Thank you so much, Foamola. Always a marathon highlight. All right. As we clear the stage, I'll introduce our next reader, Dunn. Rye is an evening botanist and medicine maker living in New York City. Please join me in welcoming Dunn.
Hide my phone behind this. This poem is rated G, which stands for G'ing out in a dark room. I had the most intense sex dream with you last night. Yes, you, the audience, you, the alleged reader. As a way of inviting you into my world, I invite you into the orgy. Into and through within a gaping void, the afters we conspire, 1 foot in the dream, 1 foot with 6 toes and AI's hallucination. I've never asked ChatGHB to write me a love poem, but if I did, I would ask it to write a poem about an orgy in which I invite the audience, that's you, and we all partook at various moments in the feasting and fucking to conjure up some prophetic divine entity, or no, perhaps maybe I'd ask it to write about this time last year, on this day, in fact, when Luca and I first broke up in a remote beach town in Oaxaca, and I finally found the perfect place to cry, swimming in the ocean, not on the beach, though, where we fought in close proximity to the Justin Vivian Bond, fresh off their flight and relaxing with a cocktail. No, bliss is wailing under the waves, crashing, and at night a man might shit in your hand as a strange offering. However the odds are, or however they end up in our favor, doesn't strike me as a good idea today when I couldn't find liberation through sex, couldn't find liberation alone in my apartment watching the dishes pile up, rewriting my fiction. What brought us together was a yearning to find out who you were without or with before me. That beginning is so explosive, like, can I reinvent myself through your eyes? Some kind of collective ketosis? I wanted a better life, and so I asked a machine to forge my tax return. I wanted your love, and so I deprived myself of every other mirror, or it doesn't always work out. But I had to learn that lesson on my own. I wanted to protect what we created, so I burned down the tower and forfeit asking a machine to wordsmith because, frankly, it wasn't very good at it. I prefer to ask it what to wear outside, or what is weather, how to evade arrest or suspicion after dropping that Zolfagar onto Larry Fink's private residence, or how to rank all of Lady Gaga's albums because, to be honest, I haven't listened to them, and I need a point of cultural connection to a lot of these faggots, need to ask how I feel about you after this brief yet meaningful collective bonding. We all come and we all go to the afters, and while we all participate in my transvestigation, find this connection to be something worth holding on to, worth deleting that persona in pursuit of that new clout, that glint in the eye of an endless scroll, digging down into the filthy imagination of a chatbot, making false accusations, building its profile of me as the culprit who wrote that one poem about planting an IED at Peter Thiel's cum dump, which alas you struck out on that Sniffies combination bingo card scavenger hunt written and directed by a lesbian collective from Ridgewood. Is that in Connecticut? I do not know how I feel about you, so stop assuming this is love. It's just an infatuation. I'm so high on limerence, I might break my heart open and show you how I banished every memory you and I had ever made. Happy New Year.
Hell yeah, right? That was wonderful. All right, next up we'll hear from Amy Ching-Yan Lam. Amy Ching-Yan Lam is an artist and writer whose most recent book is titled 83% Perfect.
This poem is dedicated to the memory of a dear friend, Mio Takeda. Person watering flowers. Sunlight cracks heads. Water arcs from a hose onto flowers. A man gazes at his yellow chrysanthemums. He stands completely still while water arcs from the hose. Each yellow flower is huge on its thin stem. The fact that they're upright rests against the fact that the water falls down. The pen stands perfectly still. He stares at his flowers. The fact of uprightness comes from sweetness. I learned this in first aid. The way you can tell if the fluid around the brain is leaking out is if you taste it and it's sweet, the first aid instructor says. Because the brain swims in a sticky sugar syrup. The syrup helps take some of the weight off the neck. Touch the fluid between your forefinger and thumb to see if it's sticky, and then taste it, he says. Otherwise, our brains would be too heavy, he demonstrates, putting his chin on his chest. In my apartment, there's a mouse who eats only ashes. It eats the ashes of sandalwood incense. I put poison out because I want it to stop eating my ashes. I read the label carefully, looking for the promise that the mouse will not die indoors. I find what I'm looking for. The mouse will die outdoors. In the basement classroom, all 8 of us students have been stabbed by ballpoint pens, all in the same place on our legs. We tie tourniquets above the pens. The instructor says never take the tourniquet off ever, because enzymes from rotting flesh will travel to other parts of the body, rotting the living parts too. There is no pain in the rotting, only in the living. Bonk, bonk, bonk. The sun bangs against cars, asphalt, lampposts. The types of pain I am most familiar with are sharp, nauseating, or tender kneading. Air bounces off my head. It was the best thing I ever did, he says. The first aid instructor tells us the story of the best thing he ever did. He worked as a family doctor in Iran before moving to Canada. His practice was in a small town, and once he sewed 4 toes back onto a foot by himself without the proper equipment at 2 in the morning. The toes came in a bucket filled with ice, and he had to figure out which one went where. He was scared. He didn't know if it would work. You actually need a plastic surgery microscope to do the veins, he says. But it worked. One day, the person showed up unannounced with a friend and pastries and a bouquet and thanked him. 2,000-year-old fragment of a fist holding a flower. Thank you to sweetness tied up. Thank you to sweetness smashed and tied up. Thank you to sweetness smashed into dust.
Thank you, Amy. It was so beautiful. We'll hear now from Joel Lewis. Joel Lewis's most recent book is Well, You Needn'ted, from Hanging Loose Press, which documents a half-century engagement with jazz music through poetry and a memoir. Please join me in welcoming Joel Lewis.
Happy New Year. First New Year's Day reading I went to was 50 years ago today, and it was the old church. You actually sat upstairs, there was seating, and this was fixed seating. This is before the fire, which almost burnt the place down, and happy it recovered. I'm going to read a couple of selections from a series called The Houses of Poetry, which got inspired reading an interview of Bud Powell. And the interviewer asked Bud Powell, "How well did you know Art Tatum?" And he said, "I've been in his house." And I picked from the series three poets who were kind of an integral part of this history of the project. Allen Ginsberg was the most famous person who lived in a tenement, 437 East 12th Street. He was the magnet that filled the building with writers and musicians. Those lucky tenants called their dwelling the Poetry Fortress. Less impressed local women dubbed it the boys' dormitory, warning their girlfriends to steer clear. I remember Allen cooking a pot of old school chicken soup to a bunch of us former students while telling us about taking care of his elderly aunts and uncles in Newark. I last saw Allen in that flat when I was escorting him to a reading at Brooklyn Friends. As we left, Allen said, "When I first read your book, I didn't like it. But just the other day, I needed something to read on the crapper and grabbed House Rent Boogie and thought the book was okay." I quietly replied, "I guess you needed to be in the right frame of mind to appreciate it." Ted Berrigan and Alice Notley couldn't afford a landline in their home, 101 St. Mark's Place off Avenue A. It was an old law tenement, railroad style, with a bathtub in the kitchen. You could visit any time so long as it was a decent hour and that one brought treats, Pepsis for Ted, beer for Alice, candy for their two boys. Once inside, you talk poetry with Alice in the living room, and from the adjoining bedroom, Ted, often ill, would smoke Chesterfields and provide running commentary on our conversations. Poets, painters, musicians, playwrights, and novelists would always be dropping in to gossip, leave manuscripts, or inscribe copies of their latest books, which Ted would later sell to keep the household marginally solvent. Often I'd stop in before a reading at the Poetry Project. "Ted, do you want to go hear shh?" I'd ask. "No," Ted would reply. "I know what he's going to do. But you should go. You need to hear everyone when you're young." I was the naive from Otherville. The downtown scene was drowning in amphetamines. It showed up as inside jokes and poems. I was sometimes an unwitting courier delivering Arcanum envelopes to poets. I wondered, would this stuff help me, a verse tyro, get published? So I asked the author of Things to Do on Speed where to get this substance. Ted got serious, stood up in bed, firmly saying, "You don't need that stuff. Go back to your basement in New Jersey and just keep writing poems." Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joel. All right, 1 second, baby. We'll hear next from Bridget Talone. Bridget Talone is incredibly happy to be here in this room with everyone. Bridget Talone.
Hi, Happy New Year. I am incredibly happy to be here. Thank you, Poetry Project. Thanks everyone for being here. Book review. This is Mara, by the way. The longer I talked, I listened. And it seemed to me that satisfaction was what I loathed. Satisfaction as a resolution. That one's love would be returned. That one's art would be adored. That all suffering led to something better for the ones who suffered. This satisfaction like a lid closing over a box. From the experience of not understanding, suspicion. From the experience of suspicion, a dark volcano heaps itself into being and covers up the heart. The smoke that issues from this heart, the smoke that issues from it isn't the heart's incineration. It is a lower smoke, wounded, grousing. It fumes. When I feigned sleep, I wanted to be alone. I could feel the light being put out, though my eyes were closed. A nylon stocking of surveillance peeling off my body. In the bathroom, the electric toothbrush hits the floor, and its distressed buzzing reaches me. I could picture the grime I've memorized there across previous trips to the toilet. Packing tape whipping against a stop sign in the wind imitates dog nails. I looked out the window of the train I'm riding, high over the clear green water. The water is so crystalline I can see down to the bottom. There are dolphins leaping out of the water, churning it at the surface, and the surface churns gorgeously in sparkling armfuls of tulle. The view at the bottom is pristine. There's a leopard underwater who has leapt on the back of a dolphin and is tearing it apart. But the blood doesn't become red clouds around the carnage. The blood doesn't hang in the water like a rusty web. Sure. The interior of the train was very white, an ancient white, full of blues, grays, purples. It conjured a clown's grease paint, the risk of it rubbing off, the dissonance of seeing skin beneath it. A clown can't sleep as clown. Like me, they'd have to fake it. The longer I railed, I began to argue that these books had abandoned their clowns and that was their problem. It was in the characters' moments of exaggerated struggle, of foolish, stubborn desire, of bald need and abject failure, that they could embody the predicaments of humans trying to become equal to the identities available to them. These books I set myself against were commercial successes. Did I begrudge them that? I didn't think I did. And I didn't think the successful should begrudge me my study of them. When I feigned sleep, I was half a clown, the other half a student, then finally a thief, intent on finding the cracked window, the forcible door to the house where real life was locked away. Down the street, new owners had sheared the forsythia bushes into uncanny yellow cubes. I had known springs beginning by the mad arms of these forsythia. I felt my kinship with them sheared and gone, who had strained so garishly, whose exaltations repeated, flared, and mulched. Now they made me think of paragraphs of highlighted text, a passage on the way the shocks we pass to one another can be extinguished in a single touch.
Bye-bye!
Thank you so much, Bridget. Thank you, Mara. All right, we'll hear now from Amir ElSaffar and Zahra Ali. Amir ElSaffar is a multi-instrumentalist and composer specialized in jazz and Iraqi Makam tradition. Zahra Ali is an award-winning writer, feminist, and professor at Rutgers University, Newark. Together, they perform an ancient Iraqi lullaby, Dalal, simultaneously tender and mournful with a contemporary twist. Woo!
دللول دللول يما البنت بتي دللول عدوك عليل وساكن الشوق
Yumma, my little one. Zuhur, you and your big eyes. Your name came as a revelation. It took us a few days after you were born to grant it to you. The stars had to be aligned. You look much more like a bird than a flower. To pronounce your name, one has to sing it like a bird. You also sound like them, like the morning dove in the poem I sang to you when you were inside of me. You love Maqam al-Ahwazawi. It is a sad poem and a sad maqam. I wonder if you are like our people, addicted to sadness. It is fine to be sad. It is what makes us human. My little Zuhur, I know everything about you, and yet I do not know who you are. You take what is in front of you without hesitation, you understand. See, no one deserves and no one does not deserve anything. You made me Zuhur, you have to forgive me if it takes me a little time to adjust to the title. Since you emerged out of my womb, I'm not the center of my life anymore. I am the sky between you stars. You created me as much as I created you. You taught me already that I can only accompany you through the pain, but I cannot take it away from you. Yumma, you will hear about the importance of being your best self, of leaving a trace in the world, an impact, of being remembered. This is how most of us were told to live our life. It left a mark on me. Yumma Zuhur, the truth is that nothing is serious in this life, and I mean it. Taking ourselves too seriously is one of our biggest mistakes. We are constantly trying to change ourselves, to mold our spirit, our body, to fit some idea we have of what is good and what is bad. The moment we step away from the flow of our being, the way we were born, we lose ourselves. There is no mission, no message any of us has been invested to accomplish, no better self. There is us, and we are all the same. We were born with an exuberance, an elation, a joy that has no limit, with sadness and with pain too. Playing is our essence. Everything, after all, is a game. I forgot when I unlearned to play, to embrace my joy. I guess I'm learning again with you. It is too much effort to be someone you are not. Take love where you find it and give more love back.
Thank you so much. That was so very, very beautiful. We're getting close to the end of our first hour. I'm really excited now to hear from Cliff Fyman, who has an announcement. Cliff writes, "I'll be reading with Maggie Dupree and Todd Colby at the Bowery Poetry Club on January 13th, 2026. Please join me in welcoming Cliff Fyman." Woo!
Okay. Curious about ships. My father said, Cliff, go with Lefty, the truck driver, one summer when we worked on Warren Street. We took the Ford on the ferry, cleared inspection at a wire gate, the foreign trade piers, and came to a long Norwegian liner. A gangway of ropes swayed in midair. I delivered vitamins to the fleet. Portals, hatchways, and sunsplashed decks. I told my father all I saw. With his connections, I got papers, and 2 years later, at 19, not taking to school abroad, I sailed from Haifa's shore to Italy, Portugal, Boston, and New York, chipping paint, oiling lines. I watched the seamen cross themselves in a wicked storm. I was the lookout on the bridge with the chief mate, midnight to 4, and many nights saw nothing but stars. The boatswain warned, "Don't paint the sides of the ship at sea, son, or you might fall in the ocean." And to the crew, "I want this lad getting back in one piece." 3 weeks later, the container glided beneath the enormous Verrazano, crackling through the choppy ice. Brooklyn and Staten Island were powdered in fresh fallen snow. We got paid off in crisp new bills. I shook the boatswain's hand goodbye, found a payphone and called Mom, then ferried back to Lower Manhattan and took the subway home. Happy New Year.
Thank you, Cliff. Can't wait for your reading in a few weeks. All right, next up we'll hear from Betsy Fagin, author of Self-Driving and Fires Seen from Space. Betsy Fagin writes every day. Betsy Fagin.
Thank you. Happy New Year. Okay. This happens to me every year. Okay. All work done on premises. Children as accessories or worse. Plot devices haunt the remains of a house. 3 jobs and 5 roommates, nothing but surface, no shadow. Only beautiful costumes and posturing with your face and skin. Eyes just like yours, your hair. Artificial blood in powdered form reconstituted with water when needed. We've been badly used here, left unprotected. Hearts magnetized to machines. No envelopes thick with support, no payphones to connect or landmarks to help find the way. Yet our trajectories bear witness. All this time has served control, not reflection. Carved, sewn, welded gates, don't let them charge you and embarrass you into tipping. The real magic happens in the kitchen by the coffee machine. These moments together, like this, what's happening now, matter much more than you might think. Rice, sugar, and cotton bound us to land before we were distracted, given ghost mirrors, gold rings, and subscription services to destiny swap us into permanent oppression. Wide realms of possibility closed off into limited experience, made up laws and boundaries. It's not great, but it's not trash. None of this was an accident. We don't need an attention span where we're going. Am I the older woman now, naked in the locker room, showing a younger self what it looks like to be free? A freedom invitation from the eagle and the condor. Expect sudden shifts in landscape and circumstance from broke down to overflowing. Hoarded wealth and leisure denied so many is always right here. Ocean and land call for a return, restoration. Interstellar energies rain down reminders. We are the core. Burning fire, water, rinsing clean. Any yellow brick road to Emerald Palace is a heart path, obsidian blade to cut all cords and restraints. When money has no value, what will they measure themselves by? How will they reckon? I can speak freely now that all mirrors are cleared, charged, and locked. You are the prophecy, not you alone, all of us. We are the disruption and cessation of violent systems. May they no longer harm themselves by harming others. We are living bridges between worlds, maps now being rewritten, ink still wet. Victory is already ours. We won.
Thank you so much, Betsy. All right, we're coming to our last two readers of the first hour of the marathon. So we'll hear now from Samuel Espíndola Hernández, a Chilean poet living next to all those Queen cemeteries. Woo!
Happy New Year, everybody. Thank you so much, all the Poetry Project, for making this place a momentary place of hope. At first, you were excited because we were supposed to see hundreds of tombstones under the water, inclined, almost twisted by the waves, cracked by unnameable creatures, the sluggish dwellers of a peculiar after-death. Even when I tried to remind you that the photo you showed me about this place was probably fake, a random picture from the internet of a cement cross haunted by crabs and corals should be real. You can feel it, or you have to. And I had to confess, an old cemetery sunken by a volcano was just irresistible for me as well. As we approached to the site, we confirmed my suspicions. No signs of the old cross, and the only grave we possibly saw was the one that has the upper end still visible, a floral relief in a gray tone, a male figure resting above it, sleeping and decaying, dreaming of anemones of the time when everything was more quiet and people from Mambayao were visiting their dead on Sunday mornings, oblivious of the magma, which only announced itself in the color of the flowers. I was nervous that you may be disappointed, and I had my best knowledge of coral and marine crustaceans, and all my love for the process of decomposition that I knew you would find interesting, as those living photos you keep of an old farm of a group of forensics researchers where they grew corpses like lilies to replicate colors, ratios, weather conditions, accidental or criminal manipulation of the bodies, to study them in some budding process, giving them time to rot, pour worms from insolent holes in the skulls, opening new eye sockets, new senses, leaving the skin lavender and smoky brownish tones like leather and sugar cakes, a critic said. And I remember to be scared when I found that book open in your nightstand, but now it will be my redemption if we remember that being underwater is like a snow glove or inside a formalin jar in a natural history museum or any other devious cabinet. But just before waking up, you look happy floating above the only old cement cross, completely horizontal, not like the one in your photo lying languidly in the sea floor, where the ashes and the flowers and probably the animals, the plants, the market, all that grew in that city serve as a fertilizer for this new garden of rocks and coral reefs. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Samuel. All right, our last reader for the first hour of the 52nd annual New Year's Day Marathon is MS RedCherries. MS RedCherries received an MFA from the Iowa Writers Workshop and a JD from Arizona State University College of Law. She is a citizen of the Northern Cheyenne Nation. Her debut, Mother, was a finalist for the National Book Award. MS RedCherries.
Hello, good afternoon, Happy New Year. I'm really honored to be here reading. He kept whispers going and lifted a smile to everything we had, a grasp, a gasp. I don't exercise, but I do with time, I say. I've had dreams, very long ones where I'm dodging an ex's ex and asking for a ride home from a bad day. I'm in your kitchen, you're cooking salmon. I'm asking for strawberries. Please, I forget the taste. I've been in love with you since you first saw me. It feels like a miracle to be here with you. It feels like a fantasy. It feels fantastic. This dry out we've been on, you more than I. We drive fast, just not anymore. Walking in Berlin, you said, I enjoy being countryless with you. The green eyes you call hazel, your teeth peeking from the corners of your mouth, too small to hold a smile like yours. It's love, and it's not binding. I whittled myself in half to make room for you and became a sharp middle. I thought I wouldn't be able to do this. I thought I wouldn't be a part of you. I've been blessed with German film stars greeting their eyes from the backseat of a car, mirroring the look in me when I look at you. Driving down a street, playing the flute, I'm impressing you. I'm playing the national anthem. We just got an apartment together at my old spot. I kept leftover bottles of liquor from my birthday party under my bed to remind myself about how far I've come. The bottle's unopened because no one likes drinking around the celebrated person who doesn't. It was all cupcakes and marching bands. Toward the end of the party and on my ex-cigarette, you knocked on the door and I answered. I moved aside, astride I moved with you. The world is alchemy, using 1,000 elements to find eternity, turning ordinary metals to gold. But this is not as big as can be imagined. We are just love to find, we are just love to turn. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, that was our last reader for the first hour, so let's have another round of applause for all these great readers.